Kabiru Abdullahi, who is the Deputy National Program Manager, National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office, joins me in the studio to look at this development. Meanwhile, of course, that video, of course, is not in connection with what we're about to discuss, of course, this, of course, is a different conversation, which is about government's plan to disperse 75,000 naira to 16 million households. This has generated reactions, as read, of course, in that report, and I'm sure you've seen that what opposition are claiming is that this is politically motivated. So how do you respond to concerns that this is more of a political strategy than an economic solution? And secondly, how is this initiative likely to alleviate economic hardship in Nigeria?
Well, thank you very much, Frank, and I appreciate the opportunity to join you this evening. First, I think the first thing we need to establish is to say that a database has already been established, and this took Nigeria close to about 8 years to build that database, and that database is called the National Social Safety Net, National Social Registry. It's an aggregate at the national level. It's an aggregate of the data, but the database is built from the at the state. There are offices established in the state called State Operations Coordinating Unit that work with the community in each state, to generate the data. We have covered about 228,000 communities across 774 local governments, over 8,000 wards across Nigeria. And the database today is 19 million strong. That means 19 million households. Those individuals are known to the community. If you take a sample of the database and you go to any community, you will find them in those locations. And this is a database that the identification process happened with the community through processes of pre-sensitization, sensitization, mobilization, and then engagement. It is called community-based targeting. And that process is very robust. And it has been tested severally. And it's the same process that is used globally, to identify poor and vulnerable households into a social welfare scheme. So Nigeria has been able to establish this. Now, the people that are going to be paid those resources and those amounts are actually going to be pulled out of that database. And once they are pulled out of that database, the project that is supposed to deliver this is called the National Social Safety Net, National Social Safety Net Scale-Up, which is a follow-on to a previous program that had closed in 2022. And this scale-up basically is targeting shock-responsive support for vulnerable households in Nigeria, and also strengthening the system. That's the objective of the support. And the government, this administration, had determined that 75,000, paid in three tranches of 25,000 are going to be
75,000 naira.
Is 75,000 overall total. But it's going to be paid in 25,000 tranches in 3 cycles. Okay. And those 25, those money is going to be paid to 15 million households across Nigeria. 15
million?
Not 16 million.
Not 16 million.
No, 15 million. That's what the document carries.
All right.
So it's 15 million households that is going to be paid. So it's being pulled out of a database that has been rigorously generated with supervision of the World Bank. And you
because I was going to go there. People may want to know, how did you generate this data? How can we recognize those who are vulnerable, those who are poor, really, that really deserve this? Because the concern, therefore, is that these funds, whether they will truly get to those who deserve them,
they will.
So perhaps you need to walk us through.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms
that
of
process, so we can understand better.
So in terms of how the database is built, first we had to establish the poverty level across Nigeria. And we used what is called the National Living Standards Survey, which was a survey that was carried out by
the NBS?
Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. Right. Now, that's provided a basis in terms of proportion of poverty across each state. in the country. And then on the basis of that, each state is supposed to sit with their bureaus of statistics to identify the poorest local government and poorest wards in each of the local governments and poorest communities. Once that is done, they rank them. That means the ranking starts in terms of coverage. We're covering every single ward, every single local government in the state. In terms of prioritization to where to start from, we're starting from the poorest community and building out. And that is what we did for a period of over eight years. Now, the identification has to involve community leaders in terms of informing them the government is interested in collecting data of poor and vulnerable households in their community for planning purposes. You know, and that process is called sensitization. It's called pre-sensitization. And then we ask them to bring together all other community leaders that are under them. Because every community leader has other sub-community leaders that are under them. They come together. And then we again sensitize them and ask them to identify a place within the community and invite all community members into that space. Once they come into that space, we ask them that, okay, we tell them government is interested in collecting data of poor and vulnerable households in this. But first, we have to start by defining what poverty means. Who is poor in your community?
In terms of enlightening them.
So we enlighten them.
Okay.
That's this whole process of mobilization and sensitization. But in terms of even collecting the data, we have to first ask them to define what poverty is in their community. And poverty is defined differently across the country. You know, some will be in fishing environment. They will say, if you don't have a net and you don't have a boat, you know, you are considered to be poor. You don't have the implements to go and catch the fish. In farming communities, it could be that you don't have the implements, you don't have the land, you don't have this thing. But what is consistent and common across the country is the fact that they all define it as not being able to afford basic needs: shelter, food, and
some other basic amenities like clothing and all of that.
And then, similarly, not being able to afford, not having access to basic services.
Okay, great. I mean, this of course is a great idea and a great initiative. I mean, I love the fact that you explain the process.
It's rigorous.
Of course, you also define what poverty is, and as it cuts across different structure of the Nigerian society. But again, one key issue that has been emphasized is the use of NIN, BVN, and mobile money to verify recipient. But given the digital divides in rural areas, communities that you just mentioned, how would those without access to technology or banking services be accommodated? Because that's the concern, really. If these are the people, the group of people you're targeting, it means that these people needs to have access to those technologies and devices as well. How do you intend to capture that or to address that challenge?
Again, Nigeria has been making a lot of strides and progress.
Right.
You will note that the phone penetration is great now compared to 10 years ago.
Right.
And you also notice that there are certain policies that had been established within the country, that ensure that people actually were accessing those services. For instance, when you were required to have a NIN before you can have a phone, you understand? It increased the NIN, utilization in the country, right? Every child that is going for WAEC is required, or WAEC, or what do you call it?
Or NECO,
GCE, and also they are all required to have a NIN, register with a NIN. So NIN penetration had already, so it's preceded even, initially when we collected the database, those elements within the database weren't there. We had basic information around the demographics of the individuals. But now we're integrating integrating with basic, digital infrastructure in the country, public digital infrastructure. For instance, NIN is now required, it's a condition for you to access those services. So what we do is now, we are going back to the communities and integrating NIN into their database. Yeah. And what we are doing is, in fact, we've worked with telcos, Airtel, Airtel is one of them, and a number of other, So they go back, they integrate NIN, they collect the phone numbers of the members of the household, integrate, if they have a NIN, you collect the NIN, and then you also collect the geo-coordinate of the household. So it is only the individuals that have a BVN, a bank account, and a NIN, and then also a digital footprint in terms of their presence in the community that are being paid. All the people that have been paid so far, about 5 million, have either a NIN and an account number.
So you are saying some people are already receiving these benefits. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
This cash transfer.
Yes.
Okay.
This started from November of November of 2023.
Okay.
And then also restarted again, once the president, suspended, and then restarted it in March, April of 2024. So the whole of those individuals that collected have bank accounts. Every single one of them have a bank account.
Quickly, in 30 seconds before I let you go, how do you plan to track, and measure the impact of this disbursement on poverty? Because that's the reason why you are, making this disbursement. Yeah. So how do you track it in terms of implementation? How many you've reached at a particular time? How do you intend to track them? And perhaps produce those data, or let us have the information out there.
So for every single payment you have, those that have received in one tranche, right, second tranche, or third tranche are actually documented because we have the database. So yes, and
it's there for everybody to see.
Yes, you can access it.
Is there a dashboard for it that one can go and access?
The aggregates.
Is how many people have.
We can share the aggregates. There's a dashboard. We can share the aggregates in terms of total number. But for data protection purposes, we can share the individuals that have collected, except if it's government audits. And then you have what is called third-party monitors. You have also government audit processes that are also auditing those activities to ensure that the right people are collecting the data. Collecting the funds.
I think a good place to leave it. Kabiru Mohammed Abdullahi is the Deputy National Program Manager, National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. Thank you so much for coming on Newsnight.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.